Hello, friends. Hope you are doing well despite this COVID 19 pandemic. Stay safe, stay home, and learn online. So, I will share some slides with you. Okay. So, today's topic of our discussion is on plant physiology. The topic is transpiration, especially the mechanism of transpiration. We know that plants absorb a large amount of water from the soil with the help of their root system. And of this absorbed water, a huge amount, about 98 to 99% of the total water absorbed, is lost from the aerial parts, upper parts of the plant as evaporation in the form of water vapors. And only significant amount, that is about 1 or 2%, is utilized by the plant body for its own metabolism. So this is a huge loss. So this can be considered as a disadvantageous process, especially when and where there is scarcity of water. But this process is also advantageous in the sense that transpiration is essential for the process of ascent of sap, that is the upward movement of water, as well as for the process of water absorption, especially when we discuss the mechanism of water absorption and passive method, then it is proved that transpiration is necessary for water absorption. So transpiration can be considered as a necessary evil. What main point is to mention is that how we can define transpiration is the loss of water in the form of water vapors from the aerial parts of the plant. The lower parts, root systems, are involved in water absorption. The upper parts, aerial parts, shoot system, is involved in water loss in the form of water vapors. Because the water loss occurring in the form of liquid droplets is another phenomenon, and that is called as exudation. Sorry, that is called as guttation. And when some organic and inorganic substances are also dissolved in that water, then the phenomenon is called as exudation. So, on the basis of which parts of the plants are involved in transpiration process, a physiological process, there are different types of transpiration. Stomatal transpiration or foliar transpiration, because the leaves are mainly involved in transpiration, and that accounts to be 90% major type of transpiration. Cuticular transpiration, up to 10% of by this method. Lenticular transpiration, will not go into much details of that, because we'll consider the important one, that is stomatal transpiration. And for studying the mechanism of stomatal transpiration, we have to study the structure of stomata. We know each stomata consists of two specialized epidermal cells called as guard cells, because they guard the central cavity or opening called as stomium or respiratory cavity. The guard cells are specialized modified epidermal cells. They are living cells. They are green cells because they consist of chloroplast and other cytoplasmic organelles also. And these guard cells are surrounded by some other epidermal cells. These are called as accessory cells or subsidiary cells. And we know guard cells are kidney shaped in case of dicot leaves, and they are like these dumbbell shaped in case of a monocot leaves. And these guard cells play an important role in the mechanism of transpiration, because when the stomata are open, transpiration can take place, and when stomata are closed, transpiration is absent. So mechanism of transpiration means the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. So this is also called as stomatal movement or diurnal behavior of stomata, because this is day and night movement. We know that stomata are open during daytime and they are closed during night time. This is a well-known fact today. And for studying this mechanism, different theories or different hypotheses have been proposed from time to time, like photosynthesis hypothesis, starch sugar interconversion hypothesis, and the modified version is Stewart hypothesis. as well as there is one more hypothesis called as potassium pump theory, also called as Leavitt hypothesis, proposed by scientist Leavitt in 1974, that we will also discuss if the time permits. We will take these hypotheses one by one after studying the historical development in this mechanism or process of transpiration, of opening and closing of stomata. Okay, let's take one by one. Scientist von Moll in 1856 observed for the first time that light is responsible for the opening of stomata. Today we know that stomata are open in daytime and they are closed in nighttime in darkness, but von Moll for the first time observed this fact, and he thought that when light is present and as chlorophyll is present in the chloroplast of guard cells, there may be the process of photosynthesis, so there is formation of sugar, and this sugar might be dissolved in the cell sap of guard cells, so there is increase in the osmotic concentration of guard cells, and when osmotic concentration or diffusion pressure deficit of that guard cell increases compared to the neighboring cells, accessory cells or subsidiary cells, then there is process of osmosis, and we know osmosis when the two solutions of different concentration are separated from each other by means of a cell membrane, by means of a semi-permeable membrane like plasma membrane. There is movement of water from the region of its higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration, that is from dilute solution to concentrated solution to make the equilibrium stage. So that phenomenon of osmosis has to be considered for studying this mechanism. Then Lloyd in 1908 objected the phenomenon, objected the theory or hypothesis proposed by von Moll, because according to him, starch sugar interconversion hypothesis is important for studying the mechanism. According to Lloyd, there is increase in the concentration of sugar during daytime, whereas there is increase of starch during nighttime in the guard cells. So this suggests that sugar is present in the guard cell during daytime, and that sugar is converted into starch during nighttime. So this is interconversion, starch-sugar interconversion, proposed by Lloyd in 1908. And the same hypothesis was proposed by scientist Lotfield in 1921. He further added that the reverse thing happens. Whatever mechanism goes on in guard cells, exactly the reverse thing happens in the neighboring cells of guard cells, that is accessory cells or subsidiary cells. So next scientist comes, that is Seri in 1926. According to Seri, not the light, the factor which is responsible for this interconversion, but it is the pH which is responsible for starch-sugar interconversion. But how this starch-sugar interconversion takes place, it was not well explained by scientist Seri in 1926. That was explained later on by scientist Scarp in 1932. How it was explained? We know, we all are familiar with the fact it is advised that it is not proper to sleep under tree during night time, and the answer is given that plants absorb oxygen, and they take oxygen and release carbon dioxide during night time. And what happens during daytime? The people say that the reverse thing happens during daytime, but the fact is not like that. Plants respire, that means they always intake oxygen and release carbon dioxide, and this is 24/7 process. Only the difference is that during daytime there is another process working called as photosynthesis, during which whatever carbon dioxide is released, it is taken again by plant, and then oxygen is released. That happens during daytime in presence of light. And because photosynthesis due to absence of light is absent during night time, there is no release of oxygen. So that is the fact. So the same fact was considered by Scare for giving the explanation for changes pH. He considered that whatever carbon dioxide is released during night time, it gets accumulated in the guard cells and neighboring places, and it gets combined with the water, CO2 plus H2O. It forms H2CO3, that is carbonic acid. And carbonic acid, you know, it's a weak acid, it easily gets dissociated into H plus and negative carbonate ions. So there is increase in the H plus ion concentration inside the guard cells. So increase in H plus ion concentration means decrease in the pH value, because we know pH is minus log of H plus ion concentration. Decrease in the pH value means pH becomes acidic. So during night time, this acidic pH favors the conversion of sugar into starch. And what happens during daytime? During daytime, as there is photosynthesis, there is no accumulation of carbon dioxide. So there is no question of formation of H plus ion concentration, H plus ions, and there is no increase in the H plus ion concentration. That means H plus ion concentration decreases during daytime. That means pH value increases. The pH becomes more basic or alkaline or neutral, and such a alkaline pH favors conversion of starch into sugar during daytime. So this is the mechanism. Now then came Hens in 1940, who discovered the enzyme phosphorylase in the guard cells. And the same enzyme phosphorylase was isolated by two Japanese scientists, In and Tung, in 1940. You can see here. And In and Tung suggested that starch is converted into sugar, and that sugar is called as glucose 1-phosphate. And during this process, inorganic phosphate is also utilized. That means starch plus inorganic phosphate gives rise to glucose 1-phosphate during daytime. And this glucose 1-phosphate is osmotically active. It increases the osmotic concentration of guard cells. It increases the DPD of guard cells. And then by subsequent events, stomata becomes open. So what happened? That we'll discuss. Okay. Then came scientist Stewart, which proposed slightly modified version of all these scientists. According to him, only conversion up to glucose 1-phosphate is not sufficient, but glucose 1-phosphate has to be converted to glucose 6-phosphate with the help of enzyme phosphoglucomatase. This is just isomerization reaction. Then glucose 6-phosphate dissociates into glucose and inorganic phosphate with the help of this enzyme phosphatase. Now, glucose and inorganic phosphate, they are both osmotically equally active, and together they can increase the osmotic concentration. So when osmotic concentration of the cell sap of guard cell increases, what happens? I didn't tell you one fact, that the guard cells have the cell wall which is double layered, which can be called as inner cell wall and outer cell wall. Now, inner cell wall, that is the cell wall which surrounds the central cavity of the guard cell, is thick and non-elastic, whereas the outer cell wall is thin and elastic. So when osmotic concentration of guard cell increases, then they absorb water from the surrounding accessory cells. By the process of endosmosis, the guard cells become turgid, their turgor pressure increases, and due to increase in the turgor pressure, what happens? Their outer cell walls, they get stretched away, they get stretched outward. As the outer cell wall of guard cells are attached to the inner cell wall, they also try to stretch the inner cell walls in outward direction. But we know that inner cell walls of guard cells are thick and non-elastic, so they don't get stretched away, but they just become, you see here, they just become concave at the place like this, and therefore the central cavity or stomium or stoma gets open during daytime due to increase in the concentration of glucose and inorganic phosphate. So this happens during daytime. During nighttime, what happens? The reverse thing happens. Glucose combines again with inorganic phosphate, then ATP is required. This is active process, and the enzyme hexokinase is required for this conversion. So here glucose plus 1 inorganic phosphate gets converted back into glucose 1-phosphate, and glucose 1-phosphate gets converted into starch. Starch is insoluble sugar. It is a polysaccharide. Glucose is soluble, therefore it increases the osmotic concentration of guard cell, whereas starch, as it is insoluble, it decreases the osmotic concentration of guard cell. Due to decrease in the osmotic concentration of guard cell, whatever water is present inside the guard cell, it is released outside towards the accessory cells by the process of exosmosis, and therefore guard cells become flaccid. And due to flaccidity, their walls, inner walls as well as outer walls, come closer together, and therefore the cavity which was open, it becomes closed like this. And this is the reason why stomata gets closed during night time or in presence of acidic pH. So this interconversion of sugar into starch is responsible for this conversion. Okay, potassium pump theory. This is quite modified theory proposed by scientist Leavitt. Only the difference here is that instead of glucose, they considered that malate or potassium malate is responsible for increasing the osmotic concentration of guard cells. So here we can see whatever starch is present accumulated during night time, it gets dissociated into one acid called as malic acid. It dissociates into H plus ions and negative malate ions. Now what happens? The concentration of H plus ions inside the guard cells increases, and the surrounding accessory cells act as ion storage cells for K plus ions. Now there is exchange of H plus ions with K plus ions. H plus ions from the guard cells move out into the accessory cells, and at the same time K plus ions from the accessory cells or surrounding subsidiary cells, they go inside the guard cells. So this happens together. Efflux of H plus ions and influx of K plus ions, it happens together at the same time. As it looks as a pump, and therefore it is called as potassium pump, you see here. So when potassium ions move inside the guard cell, it combines with the negative malate ions and it forms potassium malate. And this potassium malate is responsible for increasing the osmotic concentration of guard cells, and therefore by subsequent events the stomata gets open during daytime. What happens during the night time? How the stomata becomes closed? According to scientist Leavitt in 1974, there is absence of light. There is no photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide concentration increases. Now increased carbon dioxide concentration favors or it activates one hormone, inhibitory hormone called as ABA, abscisic acid. This hormone acts like a guard. It guards. It acts like a guard in the guard cells. It allows K plus ions to move out, but it resists K plus ions coming inside the guard cells. So whatever K plus ions are accumulated during daytime, they go outside the guard cells, their concentration decreases, and whatever H plus ions were there, they come inside. Are you getting? So when H plus ions comes inside, then by reverse thing, by the reverse process, again malic acid is formed, and from malic acid again starch is formed. And as you know, starch is in insoluble substance, so it decreases the osmotic concentration. So if osmotic concentration or DPD, osmotic potential of guard cell sap of guard cell decreases, so there is again process of exosmosis. Whatever water is present inside the guard cells, it is released into the accessory cells, and therefore the guard cells become flaccid, and due to flaccidity their walls, outer walls as well as inner walls, come closer and stomata becomes closed during night time. So these are the subsequent events. You can see at daytime, nighttime, what happens. Endosmosis, exosmosis, turgidity, here decreased turgidity or increased flaccidity, stomata opens, stomata closed down. So this is open stomata, this is closed stomata. When stomata is open, water vapors are released through the central cavity, so transpiration takes place. When stomata are closed, there is no way for water vapors to escape, so transpiration is absent during night time or in case of acidic pH. So these are some of the references. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll meet again for another lecture. We'll meet soon. Thank you.